Meanwhile, also new on Sunrise, University of Evansville students being urged to keep a close eye on their things after some recent break-ins near campus. The university says police are now involved and they've launched an investigation into vehicle break-ins and porch pirates in the surrounding neighborhood. The community reminded to take proactive steps to protect their personal property, including always locking vehicles when left unattended, removing any valuables from vehicles, or keeping items simply out of plain sight, and reporting any suspicious activity you might see immediately. Now, if you see any sort of behavior like that, anything suspicious on campus, students are asked to go ahead and call the Office of Public Safety. We have the number for you right now on our website at 14news.com.